to a second serve. Sabalenka goes cross court, backhand up the line by Iga. Sabalenka just about into the net, and that's it. Bit less dramatic than what we could say happened 2 weeks ago, but Iga Swiatek has done the Madrid Rome double. She has picked up her third title at the Foro Italico to be what feels like the undisputed main person on the tour at the moment for clay court tennis. Absolutely puts away Sabalenka in two straight sets, as Nick predicted. Funny enough, in two in two with two double breaks. I mean, that was a dominant performance by the world number one. She's absolutely ecstatic. This gets seen as the main tournament you want to be picking up and winning to really show your chances at Roland Garros, and she has done that. What do you think then? Damien?
Yeah, I mean, you said a few things that I want to touch on. I don't know where to start, but yeah, the Rome event, I think, especially on the women's tour, where we have this weird situation. The biggest events, we have Stuttgart on clay, of course. We have Stuttgart where it's indoors, it's slick. Then you have Madrid where it's altitude, and like by the time you get to Rome, you only really have two events where you can warm up for Roland Garros, unless you want to play Strasbourg as well, which I guess some players will be doing, especially in the WTA. But for someone like Swiatek, this is her kingdom, Rome, Roland Garros, and definitely good for her to sort of reestablish that ahead of Paris. I've said before that I think the only thing that can really make her lose at the French, I think, will be nerves and just that sort of position of entering the event, as a 50-50 against the field, or maybe even something in that ballpark anyway. Last year in the final against Muchova, she was, of course, kind of struggling with that too. But yeah, as a whole, I think so far when Sabalenka and Swiatek play on courts like this, it's generally been pretty easy for Swiatek. I did think today was going to be slightly more competitive. Maybe it could have been if Sabalenka takes these early break points. But yeah, it was just another one of these very efficient performances from Swiatek, which she sometimes does against Arena. Maybe the WTA finals last year, for example, was also a great example. It was also a great match where she kind of played a similar brand of tennis as well, not going for anything special, but just kind of playing super solid, or of course moving around the court like a gazelle. And I mean, she's 38-4 for the season, which is ridiculous. And the two-time defending champion at Roland Garros, she will also be entering that event on a 12-match win streak now. Oh, and you also said that the final was less dramatic. I think even the whole event was less dramatic. What was actually the toughest match that Swiatek had here? Kerber, Putintseva? It's not much, but, it's the best that the opponents could muster against her, really. And all in all, she was extremely dominant here, which definitely just sort of reestablishes her as, well, the best player of the year so far, the best player on slow clay, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, this is now her fourth fourth WTA 1000 event, a fourth title at the WTA 1000 event. I mean, we're still in May, and she's picked up four of these. Could this potentially be the most dominant season Iga's ever had?
I mean, it will all depend on the slams, right? I mean, she had 2022 when she had that crazy win streak, and she gets two slams there. Is, for example, a season where she wins Roland Garros, wins the Olympics, but loses at Wimbledon and the US Open, goes for a win rate, something along these lines. Is that going to be better? Depends how much you value the slams. I think Iga would be kind of desperate to pick up something outside of RG as well. But yeah, I mean, if she wins Roland Garros, I've said it before as well, that if she wins Roland Garros, I think she stays at number one all year. I think the only thing that can happen sort of to her in that department is literally she loses in Paris. But I mean, I'm looking right now at it, and in 2022, I think her win rate was maybe something around 67-9. So I guess 37-4. It is pretty similar. I think 2022, yeah, she was probably similarly dominant. She, of course, right now isn't on a crazy win streak, but I feel like the competition is also much stronger now than it was back then, especially with Rybakina and Sabalenka firing. So I don't think it would be her most dominant season, or at least, it's kind of like similar to what she's done 2 years ago. But it's been absolutely ridiculous and sort of, well, there's only one stain, and it's the Australian Open.
The Australian Open. Yeah, that seems like the only blip on the current 2023 calendar. So yeah, I mean, as you mentioned about 22, and that of course being the season that we're sort of comparing this to. Going into Roland Garros, there was generally the perception by the people that it was many pundits that it was Iga Swiatek versus the field. And would you take either the field or Iga Swiatek? Back then, I think a lot of people said they'd pick Iga Swiatek. What would you pick now if you're taking it into 24?
I would take the field. I mean, I would take Swiatek. I can't really go against her for one reason. Because if we think of like a potential match with Sabalenka, Rybakina, or some other top player, maybe someone she has a pretty poor matchup against, like, I don't know, Muchova last year, for example, like, if we're thinking of a specific match like this, an individual match in the final or in the semis, yes, this can get complicated. And we've seen her last year, like, have some tightness near the end against Muchova, maybe even against Haddad Maia. But in terms of her ability to get to these stages, I mean, she's kind of, the best. I don't, maybe not the best we've ever seen, but like just the consistency with which she completely demolishes every single player who's like not ranked in the top 10 or something like that, or not a flat hitter of both wings, really. Yeah, like that's something that the other contenders, the other major names, they don't have that. Like Sabalenka, Rybakina, they can only lose early, and no one will be surprised. Whereas Swiatek, usually the first few rounds at Roland Garros is just like, what? She's losing 2-3 games somewhere. Like we have all of these matches when she basically, we wait until she finds her range, and then it's just over. And the other opponents, they don't have that. So we don't really have a guarantee that we're going to get Sabalenka, Rybakina that deep. And even if we do, clearly Swiatek on slow clay, I mean, she's beaten Goff and Sabalenka here so confidently. So like on slow clay, she's clearly ahead of them as well. So even though it's 7 matches, even though so much can go wrong, I couldn't really say the field here.
Interesting. This now, of course, is quite a thumping victory, and it's coming off the back of her losing her, title in Madrid, to Iga. Do you think there could be some serious scar tissue that could start to emerge in the eyes of Sabalenka when it comes to this matchup?
Given what happened in Madrid, probably not. I know, scar tissue can also emerge because you didn't take your chances, but like she didn't really have any match point there that she had to play on. I think all of them was like Swiatek dominating the +1 shot, so it was shorter rallies on serve. And I think she, given what sort of person she is, what sort of fighter she is, I think Arina will probably be thinking about it. Well, I was super close to her in Madrid. Why can't I beat her if we meet soon? And, the clay season is going to last forever. I mean, soon enough, we might get them playing, I don't know, at Wimbledon, for example, or on a faster hardcourt in the North American hardcourt season. And then Arina will definitely be coming into the match thinking, okay, I mean, if I play well, I'm probably going to win, actually. So, yeah, I don't think so. Although, if they face it Roland Garros in the final, then Arina is probably going to be like, oh, no, her again. But I think she would still, give her absolute best, and I do respect her, grit and determination a lot. Today, maybe she kind of went away after the break in the second set, but it's not like it didn't like take a while for us to get to that point too.
Yeah. So you could make a good point. Do you think this could be Barlow? Do you think this could be the Roland Garros final that we're seeing today between these two players?
It was super close last year, but again, I kind of think that Swiatek is very much guaranteed to like go into like the quarters or the semis. Arina is much more vulnerable, and I think even these Rome and Madrid runs kind of show you that, right? I mean, here she saves 3 match points against Svitolina in the 4th round. Volinets takes a set of her. In Madrid, there were also all these crazy matches she was playing with Linette, Montgomery, Daniel Collins, of course. There she was very close to losing Rybakina in the semis as well. I mean, Rybakina served for the match and it would have been a very decisive victory as well, 6-1, 6-4 if she served it out there. So I think Arena is definitely more vulnerable. Maybe we didn't see it last year really at Roland Garros. I think there was only this one match against Sloane Stephens on the way to the semis where like she was kind of struggling, but otherwise I think that she's definitely one of the players who is going to be, one of the favorites and stuff, but I just don't think she is the same sort of guarantee as Iga simply.
No, that's some good points there. Good points there. I mean, what we will, we'll now probably start to draw this to a close, just so if you can go off and watch the trophy ceremony if they so wish, and we've kind of gone through these bits there. So you, there's not real much that we could end up set again. I guess the last question would be, who do you think could be the biggest disruptor to Swiatek's hopes of making it a fourth Roland Garros?
I really don't know. Like, do I trust Jelena Ostapenko to get there in the, I don't know, where would they play? It would have to be like the quarterfinals, I think, right? So do I really trust her to get there? Not really, but maybe if that matchup happens again. I mean, you've got some players like Alexandrova or Garcia who have been troubling her, of course, very much natural with their games. But then again, on slow clay, I mean, she probably is equipped to handle that. Of the two, Rybakina, Sabalenka, maybe Rybakina is a little more troublesome for her. But yeah, I think if she loses, it's probably going to be to a big name or like one of these problem players for her. Like, I don't think it's going to be someone random. So yeah, I guess I just kind of have to say still Rybakina or Sabalenka, which is a good position to be in because, she can only play Arena in the final, and Rybakina may be in the final, maybe in the semis. So probably one of these, if anything. It would definitely be a very big upset if she lost to someone, let's say, not top 10, or again, like Ostapenko, Alexandrova, and that kind of bunch.
Yeah. I'd agree on that.
Daniel Collins, by the way. Daniel Collins, if she plays Swiatek, that's going to be super rough. I want to change my vote to Daniel Collins.
Okay,
but that's also, I think, Ostapenko-like, right? That they can only play in the quarters, I think.
Yeah, so you're going Daniel Collins as the best disruptor to Iga's run to a potential French Open fourth title. Well, that then sort of leads up in there. I just want a quick answer. Just thinking ahead to tomorrow's match, who are you picking for the victory between Jarry and Zverev?
I mean, probably Zverev, but with someone like Jarry, like with the weaponry, you can never really be sure, right? But I do think that Zverev is probably going to be too solid in Rome. That's kind of the idea. Of course, he was super close to losing to Tabilo. But yeah, I mean, I would still go Zverev. I'm expecting Zverev to.
You're going Zverev. I'm going to have to go Zverev as well, unfortunately, on that one, just because it's such a difference in terms of quality. And that there ends it there. Well, thank you for joining, Damien, to sort of finish up the show. We had thanks to Nick as well, who's currently hosting the best dinner party ever, somewhere in the north of England, and also Biola, who unfortunately had to cut off because of some power issues. Join us tomorrow, hopefully, for the men's final, as we are getting, Roland Garros is not only just over the hill, we're seeing it very clearly down the back of the valley. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.